Hello and welcome to the Square Ball podcast, powered by William Hill and co-hosted by myself, Dave McIntyre, and Lee Keegan. What a brilliant few weeks we've been having. We hope you've been listening and enjoying it as much as we have, presenting it for you, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on whatever podcast app you get your pods on. Do get in touch with us. We keep saying it every week, and we do love to get some feedback from our listeners or viewers. You can contact us in the comment section of YouTube, where the entire episodes are there presented in bright Technicolor with myself and Lee, or you can send us a comment on any of our social media channels and any suggestions maybe that have for guests going forward. We'd also love to hear that as well. I was going to say we're speaking to our first dual star, but I guess big fans of Mayo and Keith Higgins might have an issue with that because he's essentially dual star in his own right. But in terms of playing at the elite level for both counties, or for both the same county in both codes, Podge Collins of Clare, you probably know more as a footballer. He finished his inter-county career in December of last year, and he bowed out as a footballer, I guess.
Yes.
You wouldn't have come across him too often because it's very rare that, in fact, it was not at no point in your career would Clare and Mayo been in the same division of the Alliance Football League, but you played each other in a blinding qualifier in a glorious afternoon at Cusack Park a few years back.
Now I'm sweating thinking about it because it was the heat wave came at the same time, and I think it was the heat wave that Mayo were just literally collapsing in every qualifier game over the line. But actually, coincidentally enough, James Horn used to love Clare. This is a side story. We used to go up to Clare every year for a challenge game. James used to just have a fascination around Cullum, Podge's father. We used to go up there every year for an overnight stay or a challenge game against Clare. So, funny enough, I seen enough of Podge in challenge games before and after that championship game. But
what was the genesis of the Horan-Collins relationship?
We used to really appreciate Clare as a football county. They maximise their limitations that they had in terms, because Clare is known for their hurling stronghold. But we were always very appreciative to what they were able to do in terms of they always maxed out with the group they had, even if it was limited or not. They always got beyond their expectations, and we just loved playing them. We were always guaranteed a really tough game. Even if it was a friendly game or a challenge game, it wasn't really. You'd be black and blue leaving Ennis, and just that appreciation for getting the best out of ourselves, knowing what they're doing week in, week out. And we were very privileged knowing that we always had a squad with more depth and probably talent. But what they were operating with was that just kind of full focus and dedication. So we just became, not fascinated, but just we just really loved having a challenge game against them. And a trip to Ennis is always good crack too.
Yeah. It's a great time to go out.
It is, yeah.
Is your description of leaving Cusack Park black and blue for a challenge match? I don't know, what time of year would that be?
It was usually prep kind of league championship time. Like, yeah,
is that an exaggeration? Like, we would, the non-inter-county elite athletes amongst us, of which most of our listeners would be, and certainly I'm in that bracket, we always got the sense that, you know, the challenge matches, it might be half your genuine starting 15, it might be at a pitch opening, there's not much of a crowd, there mightn't be that much of a rivalry between the two counties that are playing against each other, and it's actually nowhere near championship standard, nowhere near league standard even. But you're actually genuine in saying that?
Oh no, like challenge games are challenge games, and but
how could you be leaving black and blue?
But honestly,
Clare lads leaving stuff on you.
But Clare, like, we're not going to play Clare too often, so of course that's a great opportunity for those guys to get a crack at a top tier team like Mayo. And likewise, if we go in with that attitude saying, well, do you know what, they're Division 2 or 3, we don't give an absolute shite about them. That's not the appreciation. There's no point in us organise a challenge game against Clare and totally disrespecting them as a team. So when I say black and blue, it was the honesty of the game. I'm not saying it was championship pace or, you know, it was just, if we weren't there to play a game at the standard we felt we had to play, then they let us know about it. And that was similar to the case when we did play them in championship. When the heat came on us, it was Clare that were pushing us to the boundaries.
You're thinking about the pints that you're going to have in the main street in Ennis.
No, not necessarily. No. We were a very honest bunch. We were going home after it, but no, just again, like, we just always found Clare just a team that just really maximised anything. And a challenge game to ye, and I understand where you're coming from, but to us, we had to play pretty damn well to get over them, but we were getting it back in spades, and I'm sure he'll tell you that too.
And then you had to do that day, because I remember watching that match, and again, you put it so well, Clare maximising everything they have in terms of the resources available to Colin Collins and his players, but at the same time, Mayo are a Division 1 team. You'd been beaten after a replay in the All-Ireland final the previous year. I'm looking at that game thinking, Mayo are not. They're not the real deal this year. Yes, you squeaked out of Ennis, but in a manner in which I felt that you weren't getting to an All-Ireland final. And yet, 6 weeks later, you've just lost an All-Ireland final by a point after another brilliant game against Dublin. So you were clearly not at your best that day, but Clare were obviously really good.
Yeah. I think it'd be very harsh. I think Clare really pushed us to the brink. There was a huge opportunity in the first half. I think Jim Malone went through in a goal chance and a brilliant save by David Clark. And actually, would you believe that was the kick in the arse that we needed, because we were getting cut to shreds early in that game. David Turbary was firing our points. Brendan at midfield is as good as you get. Podge himself, his brother Sean playing. We were getting no joy in here. And it was a proper championship game. You had a full house in Ennis and the heat coming down you. And it was only probably our fitness levels and athleticism towards the tail end of the fourth quarter that we pulled away. We were getting no joy whatsoever. I think Andy Moran probably described the era. It was on life support for most of it, and it felt like that at that stage as well. You felt like Mayo were, I suppose, one punch away from just being knocked out, and Clare weren't far away from doing that.
Yeah, well, let's see if we can dredge up some of those memories from Podge Collins. You are listening to the Square Ball podcast powered by William Hill. It is the Podge Collins episode, and he's joining us next. So Podge Collins has joined us for the latest episode of the Square Ball podcast. Podge, you're very welcome. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
You're looking well. You're looking like a man who's still capable of doing a job in both codes at intercounty level, and yet you decided last December you were done.
Yeah, it was probably, I probably wasn't really done in my own head. It was just the way things panned out with the club. The year went on late, and then a lot of people were asking me, was I going to go back? And I kind of decided I wasn't going to go back, but I wasn't like fully retired, do you know, with my head or accepting of it. But anyway, I got contacted by a journalist and they were like, you're going back? And I said, no, I'm not going back. And then it just went out that I was retired. I was kind of like, I was out of the country and I was just like, yeah, grand. Do you know, I was like...
So you didn't even bark back? You just said, no, that's it?
No,
yeah.
I was kind of happy enough. Like, right. I just... my justification for it was that I was getting injured at pivotal times in the season too often the last 3 or 4 years. And I just felt like, do you know what, it's time. Like at club level in general, I'm able to kind of sustain it. Just that level is just down a bit. You're not travelling the same mileage and training every week, and the gym sessions aren't as intense, maybe. But like the level the club is gone now, it's pretty intense. But it is that drop off is enough for me.
And when you say injuries, were you breaking down different areas, or was it a common injury that was kind of at you constantly? I know you did your cruise shit as well, but was that accumulation of everything, you think? Or
I'd say it was stemming from my lower back.
Right.
I got a scan. It was like I did two degenerative discs, and I was tearing my hamstring, and I'd say it was stemming from that. So I'd be very tight and kind of immobile, always was, and kind of runs in the family nearly. My brothers are the same, and tearing my hamstrings just at pivotal times of the year, and it was just getting extremely frustrating. And kind of towards the end, after every intercounty season for a couple of years, I was like, right, if it goes this year during a pivotal time, I won't go back next year. And then I'd go back, and then it would happen again, kind of. So
But so you told a journalist that you were retiring before you'd actually categorically been at peace with that decision in your own mind.
Yeah, probably.
And then it took that chat with that journalist to enter the public domain for you to actually realise.
Wasn't Dave, was it?
For you to realise, actually, I am done.
Yeah,
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of a retirement happening like that.
Yeah, it was a bit strange. I was out of the country and I was kind of happy enough to leave it. I'd had a few conversations with a few people very close to me, and I was like, maybe if I did this year, something a bit different, maybe I could go injury free for the year and see how I got on. Could I? But I just always felt from a young age I had to do a bit extra to get to a certain level, to get to the level I needed to get to perform. And if I wasn't, like, there was a couple of years there where I wasn't able to go down to the field the day before training to do my shooting, or the day after. Like, my body was not able for it. The energy levels weren't the same at training.
I think that's just called entering your 30s.
Yeah, it probably is. But
thanks.
And I still find that hard at club level. And then you're probably not as sharp as you'd like to be.
And so you said you're on holiday. Were you on holiday or just traveling when this is all kind of stemmed, I suppose?
I was in America.
You're in America,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
With your partner or
no,
friends?
No, I was with friends.
Right, okay.
David Turbary at the time.
You must have had some crack then when the whole...
I was getting some slag.
You hadn't probably even told them, had you not?
No. So, yeah, but I had a few conversations with people, so I was happy enough to go from it. Yeah.
How much have it had to do with the fact that your dad had stepped away?
0.
Okay.
0. If he had stayed on, I was gone, I'd say.
Irrespective?
Yeah,
okay.
Like that year, I was going to kind of take it out anyway, so, yeah.
I want to ask you about what it's been like the last few months for your first year out, but we mentioned the qualifier in 2017. Lee was convinced you had a pivotal role to play in that game in the heat in Cusack Park, but you actually weren't even involved that afternoon. So it just goes to show how good a grasp Lee has of his own career.
Yeah.
Qualifiers are just a messy road, like, you know, so.
So you weren't fit that day?
No, I don't actually think I was on the panel that day at all.
Really?
No, I wasn't playing that year.
I know your brother Sean was playing.
Yeah, Sean was playing. But like, just Dave, it's interesting. I got a call before Clare Limerick played this year in the Munster Championship in Cusack Park of a journalist, and they said, Podge, I wanted to go through the last time Clare played Limerick in Cusack Park in 2018. And I was like, all right, I don't think I was playing that day. I said back to him, and he said, oh no, you played the whole game. And I was like, did I? So I actually went onto YouTube and watched it back, because I was like, I remember David Reedy and Tom Condon got sent off. Limerick played Tom Condon, and I was like, I had to watch it back just to.
Yeah, but like I feel like I don't even remember certain moments in the game. It's funny, like, but not even personnel, just certain moments in the game that kind of, because we got over the line, and as Dave rightly said, we're probably, well, I said that we're in life support a lot of the time, but there's only moments during the game that you remember. It's probably just personnel. Sometimes you don't pay enough attention to around who was playing or that. It's just all we cared about that day was getting out of jail, to be honest. So and I think we did, and probably a lot of Clare people will say that too, like, you know. So
Yeah.
You were committed to the hurlers only in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for a few years.
So the year you do choose to retire, Clare get to the All Ireland series and a Munster final.
Yeah.
So was there any point over the last, say, 12 weeks where you thought, I've made a big mistake here?
I'd always say, and there was different years I played both, played hurling and played football, and I always kind of made my peace with making the decision for the right reason, and whether some would perceive it as wrong or right, or whether a team was successful or unsuccessful, I made it for the right reason for myself at the time, and whatever that was, I could justify it myself, and I was always able to make peace with that. And even chatting to young guys in Clare at the moment that are kind of asking me that play both, that would be my answer, whatever feels right for you at the time, and then you can have no regrets. If you do it for the wrong reason, if you think you're going to be successful but you prefer to play one or the other, just do it for the right reasons, and you kind of make your peace and you retire then.
And I suppose Clare now are well documented, like, Joe, that they have a kind of rivalry at Limerick. Like, do you find yourself now, like, on the fan side of it now since retirement? Because, you know, retirement is a funny one, like, Joe, especially a year out of it. Like, do you find now that you're really getting into it as a supporter, or do you still look back and think, not because you're playing, I know you just explained that, but like, do you see yourself as a fan now, or do you still support them fully now, in stepping out from the game?
Yeah, I definitely support them fully. I'd be very good friends with a lot of them, but like even at the Limerick Munster final there, like I suppose I got involved in coaching as well, but since I got involved in coaching, I'm definitely enjoying it more. As a fan, you're kind of just, you're looking at the game through the eyes of a fan, you're kind of roaring and screaming. Since I got involved in coaching, it's kind of taking that step back. So I took 3 years out of intercounty, let's say, since I've been in intercounty hurling, and every year you're out of it, you're missing, you're losing touch with the game. Every year you're out of it. When I got back involved with coaching, you kind of gain that grasp of it. And like, even after Munster final, it was Clare fans were at such a low ebb after, because I was meeting Clare fans in Thurles before the game, and it was all like, I think we're going to do it, and you're going against the All-Ireland champions who are hot favourites to win the game, and there's this, like, just this optimism and level of expectation from the Clare public, and you could just feel it kind of building during the week. And then Limerick go out and do what Limerick do, and after 10 minutes the Clare crowd were just drained, and obviously that seeps onto the field and everything that goes with it, so the players are probably feeling that. And then going out of the stadium, it was like, that was awful, we were awful. And I was just like, right, yeah, that's what it felt like, all right. But I went back that evening and I watched the game back, and just, I saw like 2 different stats, that one came up on RTE and one came up on just an Instagram page, and they were just completely wrong. There was like a turnover count, it was like 22 turnovers to Limerick, or Clare 22 turnovers, Limerick had only 10. And I watched it back and it was like, for a finish it was 34-30. And like, you know, even the puck out percentage, I think Nicky Quaid went like 40% on his own puck out in the second half, and like, was this complete domination is what it felt like at it. But when you actually look back at it, it wasn't as bad.
So are the statisticians using different criteria to measure these in a game than you might?
I'd love to know, because I was trying.
Bizarre.
Yeah, when I saw that 22-10 and I was watching it, I was like, hold on a second here, and I just went through it. But
They just had a certain period, like, during the game that they're dominant. I wouldn't say they dominated from start to finish, you know.
yeah, but as a Clare fan at the game,
You felt that way.
That's what it felt.
Right.
Like, that's what it felt like in the stand, because everyone had this like expectation, and then Limerick are kind of a second half, third quarter team, and then they go in at half time with Clare had the win, the Gale, and we're level, just about level. We got a last minute goal or down a point, and so no, it's interesting when you look back and you're like, right, with a really good purple patch from the 50th minute to the 63rd minute, let's say, and we drew with Limerick 1-1, where we missed 1-3, and you just can't.
And a poor goal given away too, probably at a crucial junction, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe misread, kind of passed, and so.
Yeah. And where that came from and everything.
Do you feel with the Clare team at the moment though, like, and you look at it, do you think there is the pressure of expectation and not having won a Munster for so long, and then on top of that with Limerick's dominance, do you think that the expectation is too much, or do you think the Clare put too much pressure on them having not won a Munster in so long, or how does that feel?
In fairness, I'd actually be a big fan of the Clare public. Like, in general, I think we're a really good county to support our teams. We're a sports mad county, and we've only won 4 All-Irelands, like in our lifetime. We're like there's kind of 8 or 9 teams that compete in hurling every year at the highest level, competing for an All-Irelands. I don't like, maybe if a few more get more competitive now, but like we've only 4 of them. So while we have that optimism every year and we have good players, our success rate probably doesn't match our engagement in it. So like, I think like people will come away disappointed after if we lose. They will be, but we've a good group of players now at the moment. Hopefully they do have success, but yeah, I don't think there's any pressure on the players. Like, I think all the pressure on the players is put on themselves, that they want to be successful, and that's it. And they put in a massive effort, and that's what it takes. Like, you see the amount of 1-point wins that Dublin team had. You see the amount of 1-point wins this Limerick team are having, or a few point wins. Like, it doesn't happen by accident, but that's you're competing against.
When the grind won out, it's funny. It's like their conveyor belt. They just know how to finish games, and I found that with Dublin, as I said before. Like, the fact that they got over the one during a tough period, they just knew how to do it then. Where the Mayos, or to take Clare now, that when you're in that tight situation, you nearly back the Limerick or the Dublin, because they've been there, they've done that, and they know how to do it. Like, and that's a sign of great teams that can do that.
Yeah, and it's probably a calmness to, like, we've prepared so well. Yeah. We've got everything right, from the grub on the Thursday of training to the hydration beforehand training and everything in between. And so they're
even that defeat a couple of weeks ago to go away, they still managed to find that last opportunity that you would expect Conor Callahan to put over. And if he does, and it goes to extra time, it just backs up exactly what you've just said. They found a way, didn't they? To, like, the equaliser they got against Kerry in the drawn game in 2019, they just somehow managed to find a way to create the chance and take it. Only on this occasion they didn't actually take the chance. Take us back to the very start, Podge. You were born in Limerick, were you?
Yeah, I was born in Merville Drive, is where we grew up till I was about 8.
So you're a Limerick man, and I'm not. Do many Clare people actually know that?
Yeah, I think a few do. But I played in the Piershig. I remember my earliest memory of hurling is going to an under 4 blitz. Well, like, there was 6, 8, 10s. We got in a bus from the Piershig, went out to Kilmallock, I think. So like Shane Dowling, Kevin Downs, and them players were my age in the Piershig. So I was playing with them at that age. So, but then moved out to Cratloe when I was 8. And I think, in fairness to my older brother Sean, he really started developing when he was 12, 13, 14 as a hurler, and improved like significantly. He wasn't probably as good when he was younger, so I think if he was like, they would have found it harder to let him go if he was playing at the level he got to. So so we went out there, and I was 8, younger brother was 7, and Sean was about, I think, I'd say 11, and went to go to Cratloe then, just only 10 minutes out the road. And
so was it always hurling then? Like, obviously, so it started in a Piershig where the myth would be similar to most parts of Kilkenny, that the kids are walking around with hurls in their hand from the age of 2. So was hurling the first love from the very beginning?
Yeah, I'd say both. It wasn't as big. Football wasn't big in the Piershig club, so it was mainly hurling in the club, but everything at home was hurling and football in the backyard. So, and then moved out to Cratloe, and we were very fortunate. Conor McGrath, his father Joe McGrath, just was taking us for hurling, and Cullen was taking us for football, and it was just like every second night, and we just got great coaching. As a group of players, we were very fortunate. That just kept going for.
And is your father a hurling man?
Yeah, he enjoys it. Like, he grew up in, I suppose he grew up in West Clare, so he would have nearly predominantly football. Like, so he would have never played it himself. I'd say very few experience of playing it, but I suppose like in Cratloe would have been predominantly hurling, like when we moved there first. But it was like we've played both kind of consistently all the way up along, and at senior as well.
And who would have been your biggest influence hurling wise then growing up? Would it be Sean, your brother, or is there other factors around that?
Sean, my brother, my parents, like both of them, like we have been going to games.
Yeah.
Do you know, I always kind of think that about sports people. Like, if if your family were into swimming, you'd probably have been a good swimmer. Like, so it was GA, so I was going to Munster finals for as long as I can remember. Like, I just remember like being down in Cork and past like is it the rugby club there? Cork Con. There's a pub there on the right. Like, and I remember, we going before Cork. We're in a Munster final. My mom's from Cork, and being outside there, kicking around the ball, and then heading down, with the crowds onto the Munster final. It's just been epic days, and I was watching those players in the field, like, and just. It's funny now seeing my friends have kids, like, and they're like YouTubing like videos of GA players and watching them, like, and how excited they get about like Diarmid Ryan's Art Club when they see Diarmid. So going full circle, but so it was always kind of hurling and football. My parents were probably my biggest influence, and then I was fortunate enough just through like Sherlock Nam was my principal, so like just
it's just coming at you from everywhere.
Yeah, and he was just like obsessed with winning. Like, I've never met anyone as so like motivated by winning in my life.
Still is.
Yeah, like, it was funny. My older brother's class weren't, I suppose, as they weren't a good class, let's say, hurling or football. But Sean would have been really into it, and he went down to Monday inside in the staff room or down into his office, and he asked Ger would he coach the 6th class team football, so they could play in it, and he was like, Sean, it would only hurt you to coach you. so Sean, I think, made an agreement that if Colin would come in and coach him, that they could play in it. So I think that's what happened.
Good deal made.
Yeah.
Interesting. You've referred to your dad twice now as Colin. Is that the way you address him at home?
No, I'd be dad at home, and just probably from being down at the field.
Right.
And in McClare, like, as well, like, you can't really call your
suppose
manager dad.
That never really occurred to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say that's it, just a habit. Because, like, he would have coached me with Clare teams as well, underage. So you probably just developed that habit.
Did he ever ask you not to refer to him as dad in sessions, or was it just something you kind of it dawned on you yourself?
It dawned on me myself. He never said it. He didn't care.
And did you find it brilliant having your dad mentoring you, or did you find added pressure because he was there, or how did you feel?
Not really. Like, no. I'm sure I drove him mad plenty of times, like, and I'm sure he drove me mad the odd time as well. But no, in general, like, I was very lucky to have someone like that was that interested in sport and something that I was very passionate about, and that he was a great, like, was great guidance to have.
There is often an added pressure though on children of the manager, particularly at a very public, high profile level, that you always want to ensure that there's absolutely no danger of the word nepotism ever being thrown at you. So you have to perform almost on a level above your teammates to guarantee or to justify your place in the team.
Yeah, well, I'd have always put in hard work, and some days, like, I would perform and some days I wouldn't perform, but I'd always I made the point even a few weeks ago that the manager, the selection team, and you've probably both experienced this, is like, they're at every training and every match, and they're watching it and they want to win on Sunday. So they never picked a team to lose. They never put a player on that's worse than a player on the bench because they just, I like his personality better. Like, it might be like he's a finisher or whatever, fair enough. But I always felt that if I performed a training, I put in the work, and if I was good enough to start by the manager and the selectors, that was justified, and I never worried about what other people thought. Like, I know when we played Derry in Crow Park, Conor Glass made a kind of joke and comment to me. He was like, "You're only playing because your dad's manager." And they were beating us well at the time, so I wasn't even going to John back to him.
The final game, wasn't it?
Yeah. They were beating us well at the time, so I knew he was kind of messing, and the game was kind of over, so I wasn't even going to John back at it.
It's hard not to react, though, and you're the game was spiraling away from it. It's probably hard not to react.
But I knew he was it was like he was messing and slagging, but that's, I never really get it. And
so maybe the pressure works in the other way then. It's the pressures on your dad, the pressures on the manager. If a 50-50 call between you and another player who isn't his son, maybe you're the guy who loses out, because if it's that even, he'll just venture away from the decision that might lead to fingers being pointed at him.
Yeah, I think they had a good system when he was manager of how they picked a team. I think it was, I suppose, very democratic between him and selectors and trainer. And I'm not sure the exact, but I think everyone that was involved in that kind of group had input. So I don't think it ever kind of came down to him being like...
It must have helped you, though, then hurling wise, because your father's heavily involved in your football side of the career. So when you're going into kind of independence then with coaches, then you're obviously not related to that, or it's kind of a blank canvas. So you mentioned, like, you always had to work a bit harder. I'm assuming that was the case then when you went to hurling with these guys, that you might have known as much, or been involved in from a family point of view?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we got a very good grounding with Joe McGrath as a hurling coach. So I think that like the basic skills were actually just ingrained to us so much, and from a young age, that we were very lucky that when I suppose got up to my kind of later teens, that we had a very good basic that group of Cratloe players with really good grasp of like the games and the basic skills. So we were well kind of coached, and we were like obviously very lucky. Not every club gets that. Someone that's an excellent coach just happens to be your under 8 coach, 9 coach, 10 coach, 11 coach. So. As a group like myself, Cathal McInerney, Conor McGrath, Conor Ryan, Lee Markham, Sean, David, like we had a good group like growing up together, and we blessed to have good coaching as well. But like then when I went into secondary school, like Colm Hanley was a coach there in Shannon. It just got on very well with him from a young age, and good success in school. Alan Cunningham was in there, and he was excellent. Towards the end of my career, like Paul Knirk kind of came into that school, but I missed out on him, but lucky enough to deal with him at minor. I suppose I definitely lucky that I got to come across some excellent coaches, and just some people with great hurling and football knowledge throughout my career. Like
we had Pádraig Marin a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about that week of his life when Tipperary won the senior and under 21 All Irelands in a 7-day spell. And this unbelievable crop of young Clare hurlers got to experience something similar in 2013. I know that was the second of the 2 under 21 All Irelands, but the 2013 under 21 title followed this extraordinary victory against Cork in the replay. Talk to us about that few days, that fortnight of hurling, and what your reflections are over a decade out from it.
Yeah, I think we drew the All Ireland, and then the 21s is the week after. Or 2 weeks after, and then we the senior, like, so it was kind of a weird sensation, I suppose, to win an All Ireland 21s in Clare, and because Clare like are so starved of like All Irelands, I can remember like when the 21s won in 2009 in Croke Park against Kilkenny. Like I remember like they were trying to stop people with this like orange fence holding up. I remember jumping over it like and running onto the field with all my friends and stuff like that, like in the buzz of that. And then to think like whatever it was 4 years later, that when the 21s I'd be inside doing stretching inside in the pool, being involved in it, like it was surreal, I suppose, because it's obviously something that you'd think as a young lad growing up, if we ever did that, that would be carnage.
Yeah. But you're expecting, as the ball has been thrown in for the under 21 All Ireland in 2013, the preamble to that, in your mind, the All Ireland will be done. The senior All Ireland will be done. It'll be out of the road. You'll either be an All Ireland medalist or you won't be. You'll have an opportunity to maybe wash away the disappointment of losing an All Ireland final, or you'll have an opportunity to win 2 medals in a week. So what was that dynamic like, going into that game, knowing that arguably the biggest game of your career was still to come days afterwards? Was there any debate as to whether all you boys should be starting?
I don't think so. Maybe Tony, but I don't think so. I think that was more joking wise, like. But we played, and like when we got ahead, a few players were taken off, and it was well managed, and it was like it was well managed. Like it's funny, from that period, it's the high of winning it. Remember that the final against Cork. And then like missing a chance against Cork the first day, like they're my two, like if you were to ask me about emotions and feelings, like they're the two things I remember like vividly. But like after 21s, I don't remember. I just remember thinking like it was only like, another session's done now. Get on for next week, and it was the same after the.
Yeah.
So what was the relationship between Davy Fitzgerald and the under 21 manager?
I think it was pretty good. Like I don't.
So he wouldn't have been putting any pressure, thinking, we've got an All Ireland final replay coming up here, lads. Like. Clearly that takes precedence.
I don't think there can be a lot, because if you're starved of success, like you said, like I mean, you're getting an opportunity at 2 of them in a week.
But I can only imagine what the reaction of the county would have been if Tony Kelly tore his ACL in the under 21 final.
Yeah.
And then a week later you lose the All Ireland by 2 points, and everyone is wringing their hands and why did we let Tony Kelly play in the under 21? And we ended up winning that by 10 points. And I mean, that was a real high wire act the two managers had to perform that maybe you didn't appreciate at the time, and clearly you don't really still appreciate it. The fallout would have been enormous.
Yeah. I suppose just in sport, like you can't really reflect on what ifs, because if I used to do what ifs in my career, like I know you Darren O'Sullivan, and I remember him saying like he'd loads of regrets from his career, and I'd agree. Like, I've plenty of regrets in my career when you look back on it, like in hindsight. But during it, like, you do stuff for the right reasons, and it can change anything from then. And thankfully, it worked out. And as a player, you're just literally like, right, next session, and then the All Ireland ends, let's say the second time, and then it's like Cratlow's starting up now next week, and that's it. And like, I think that's why I'd forget games. If someone was to ask me about a specific game, like, you remember a lot of them, you'd forget specific ones because you literally each year falls into each other, especially during that time. Like when the finals were played then, or even like the semi-finals were played then, or the quarterfinals, you're literally starting the club 2 weeks later, and then the club season goes. The club season, fortunately enough, we had some great years at the club. That goes long. You're straight back in with Clare, and the cycle continues. So
it's just like the hamster wheel just never stops turning.
Yeah, and like, you love it.
And you're doing it in boat coats.
Yeah, but loved it. But absolutely loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because we had Ashton saying the same thing. It's when you're in the bubble of it, you probably don't appreciate it, but you think of nothing else. And it's kind of what you're saying there. Like, it's probably at the time you're like, nothing else really matters. Doesn't matter what's going on now. Next game. But you must have allowed yourself. I know you were saying 2 weeks back with Cratloe, but you must have allowed yourself some downtime or celebration, because it's a huge moment for you as a county. Like, again, star for success in 13. It must have been elation. Yeah. On the back of your performance that year too. You magnificent year.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was a great year, but personally and as a team, but like, we did good. I remember I had a headache the second night or whatever, and I just couldn't. It was just ringing. Like, I never get headaches. I was like, what is wrong here? But we enjoyed it for 3 or 4 days. Now, it was great crack. I remember just being in a little village there in Clare, and like day 2, and just outside at 1 o'clock in the day, and all of us as a group. And it was just a great crack.
And you probably wouldn't have been able to do that if you'd won it the first day.
No.
Because of the under 21 final coming up days afterwards. In the end, it obviously worked out great. Davy took over the back end of 2011, so 2012 was the first year. But I still felt, and most people watching on as hurling fans would have felt, that you guys were not even in the conversation to win that 2013 All-Ireland.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't win the Munster Championship. You still haven't won it going back all the way back to the late 90s under Gaelic Games. And even in the replay, I still felt you'd have come from nowhere with Shane O'Donnell's hat-trick. And it was almost in All-Ireland that Clare suddenly just ran in from the side door, pinched, and then ran off with it. And everybody was left standing on, where has this team come from? Because you did very little beforehand outside of the 21's pedigree you're carrying with you.
Yeah.
And you did nothing afterwards.
Yeah.
So it was an astonishing All-Ireland win.
Yeah. But like, I would have said the first day now, like, we led the whole game. The first time Cork lead is the 72nd minute. And like, I would have felt if we'd lost that game, I would have been gutted. But like, I think if you win a game, you deserve to win it, end of story, and just get on with it. But yeah, I do think we were the better team, like, the first day and probably the second day. Like, I genuinely do feel that, and we've plenty of days where we weren't the better team.
But did you feel it was
Cork.
gone? I mean, there's some great commentary, local radio, national radio, TV of Donald O'Donovan's point. People saying, don't shoot. Oh, what a score. I mean, that was just one of the all-time great All-Ireland scores.
Brilliant moment.
Are you thinking in your head, as Donald's making his way down the Cusack stand side, he better not shoot here. This is our last chance. He's a cornerback. His nose is about to start bleeding.
Yeah, well, fair play to Donald. Like, I was looking up at the big screen when the ball goes wide just to see the time on the clock. And on the big screen, the cameras were just, you could see they were all in front of, just all the media was in front of Jim Barry Murphy. So I was like,
all the photographers ready to get their picture.
Yeah. So I was like, right.
Don's like, no, not today.
Yeah, and then, like, fair play, like, I was massive. Yeah, it was epic. Yeah.
So when you left that after the draw, did you feel in a good position, or did you feel you let it slip, or what was your?
I was just thinking of 21's league, to be honest.
Oh, sure, 21's. Yeah, that's mad. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So for you, for that cohort, I suppose 21's the following week. Must be hard in the group though. The senior lads then, I suppose they're getting a bit of rest then, and
there's so many of them though.
Yeah,
there's such a large group of you.
Yeah,
that were concentrating on the following week.
Yeah. So it was a good way to switch off and get into that, and yeah.
What about the Shane O'Donnell hat-trick? Talk to us about what your memories are of that, because you were one of the stars of that Clare team that year. You were one of the stars of the hurling year. You were nominated for Hurler of the Year. You won your All-Star. And yet everyone just walked away thinking of Tony Kelly, Hurler of the Year, Shane O'Donnell. Has there ever been a way to announce yourself in the inter-county scene than that?
Yeah, no, I was just delighted for him. Like, I was living in Cork at the time, so I was working down in Johnson & Johnson, down in Jensen, and he was in college there. So we were gymming together that year and really got to know each other very well. and driving up and down to train together. Like, so it was, I was just delighted for him. Do you know, it was, because like, I remember going to the gym with him for the first time, and it was in UCC, and like I was like, I've 4 years experience now in this guy, and I was like going to show him the ropes, like, and then he just was lifting way more weights than me, and just like I was just looking at him like, you were a freak,
Just a freak. Yeah.
you're just a freak, like doing just these I won't even go into it now, but doing these exercises that I couldn't believe the weights he was moving. So I was extremely athletic, and I was delighted for him. Like I was down as a sub for the first game against Cork that year,
right,
and he was starting, and then he got sick, and I was put in. Do you know, and
So he was due to start the drawn game.
no, the
First game.
the first we played Cork in the Munster Championship that
Munster
year. They beat
Championship,
us inside the Gaelic Grounds, yeah. But yeah, so like talk about like, I don't know. I always kind of think like you know, you can be very lucky with getting like different breaks and stuff like that, and then meeting the right people as well, like whether it's management or selectors or other players around you and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm delighted for him, and
He's backed up since.
playing phenomenal stuff at the moment.
Surely going to win an All-Star this year.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
And the way he's changed his game as well. Like he announced himself as a goal getter, but he probably lays off most of the ball he gets nowadays and creates and assists far more scores than he actually gets himself. His ability to bring others into the game and to make others around him better is ridiculous.
Yeah, and his ball winning ability is something that is just.
Because he's
off
not
the
big,
scale.
he's not tall. Like,
Yeah,
obviously physically strong.
And he's fast. Like when he gets it, like when you have a quarter forward pace, though, it's frightful.
Yeah,
You can literally any kind of
Yeah.
shite in on top of him, and
Yeah.
he tends to make a bad ball look good.
yeah. His eye for the ball is just incredible. But he's very physically strong. I'd say he's like 5'11".
Yeah.
Joe, he's not a small guy either. Do you know, I'd say, but to look at him, you might think he's a small bit smaller than he actually is. Like, but I'd say he's like 5'11", and he's just so strong.
He's electric to watch.
Yeah,
Just electric to watch.
His ball winning ability, like that's why it's like so valuable. Just to have him around the kind of inside line as opposed to wing forward. I just think that the ball just sticks to him, even if he doesn't win it first time, his man's not coming out with it.
Yeah, he never gives up on anything. Talk to us about being managed by Davy. He's in the news these last couple of weeks. Obviously, he's stepped away from the Waterford setup, and he'll take a bit of time to decide whether he wants to get back into another inter-county setup. But is it too simple to surmise that with Davy, there's a shelf life to his type of management, that when he arrives somewhere, as he proved with Waterford in 2008, they were a mess after the fallout with Justin McCarthy, got to an All-Ireland final, got you guys to an All-Ireland final, which you won in year two, backed up by, there was a league title win after that. He wins the Leinster Championship with Wexford when they hadn't done it since 2004, I think. And then he goes into Waterford again, and he's almost managed to get the best out of them this year, and they'll feel they really left a place in either in the Munster final or the Munster Championship knockout or the All-Ireland knockout stages behind them. Everywhere he goes, like a Mourinho, he almost makes an instant impact. But then it does seem to go steadily
I
downhill.
think it's compounded as well with the fact Austin Gleeson has returned
Yeah.
immediately. So
Well, we can argue whether that's a coincidence or not.
Yeah, but yeah, I suppose that's.
But what is? How would you sum up the Davy Fitzgerald style of coaching? What was it like for you when he came in first?
Well, I remember in 2011 he came in. I wasn't called in. Obviously disappointed. A lot of my friends were called in, kind of same age and younger. And then the middle of that year I was called in. Or sorry, 2012. That was 2012. Middle of that year I was called in, and he brought this very professional setup. Like, it was just unbelievably professional in regards to like the way the gear was laid out for you. It's like something out of what I could imagine a Premiership dressing room was like, and got great people around him. Like, we had just excellent people, like best in their field as far as I'm concerned. And so I think that's one of the most important jobs of a manager, to do that. And then like Davy was probably of the opinion that like he wants everyone just to push themselves to the maximum constantly, and maybe that's not sustainable for a lot of players. I like it's like you look. I heard someone like Brian Driscoll, I think, talking about like the difference between GA players and rugby players. And like 10 o'clock on a Monday, he can go into the pool, he can get his 10-hour sleep and go for a swim, and then like go out and maybe he might feel good and do a bit of a gym session. Like a GA player's getting up, whatever, going to work, doesn't really get to recover. Like, so when you're training at that intensity all the time, like it is hard to sustain. But I'm sure like that Davy has kind of adapted like from that stage. Like when it was very intense, it was very hard, but then you produce these performances and you're bringing this intensity to championship games that probably other teams mightn't be used to then, and that's probably why like he has had success. So it's just trying to get that balance, I suppose, and that's the thing about management. Like, it's not straightforward, but like having success wherever he goes, there's plenty of managers that don't have it. So it's hard to say. Like,
So at what point did it start? Sorry, Lee. Did it start to break down? You win the All Ireland in 2013, and I know we mentioned the league win, which is great and everything, but obviously it doesn't compare to winning Liam McCarthy. You won 3 championship matches in the next 3 seasons, 2 of which were against Offaly and Laois. So no disrespect to those counties, but they weren't in the elite 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So essentially, just your win over Limerick. That was all you had to show for 3 years of championship hurling after that.
Yeah.
This is the All Ireland champions.
Yeah.
It's like you've fallen off a cliff form wise.
Yeah.
So I mean, what happened?
Well, I can take the blame for 2014. Like, I got sent off inside Ennis after 25 minutes.
I'm going to get to that.
Yeah. Pulling that guy's face mask. So like, I not that it's on one player or anything like that.
That was the drawn game at Wexford.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a home game. There was an interaction with a Clare champion reporter afterwards.
Yeah, I don't even remember that now because I was obviously in my own. I didn't have the reaction.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, no, sorry.
I'm going to get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Go on.
But yeah, no, and you draw them Wexford at home, and like we go down there, I suppose. Then it's, you know, I'd be partially to blame obviously for that draw because at home to Wexford you should be getting a result, and we didn't. We drew, obviously the man down after 20 minutes or whatever it was. And then we go down there and we lose to them away, like a last minute goal, I think it was, to either bring it to extra time or to win it by a point after extra time.
2 absolutely epic games that was against Wexford.
Yeah, but just gut wrenching from our point of view. And then 15, like I did the cruise shit in 15, and kind of from my own perspective, I suppose I'm getting at very disappointing years. And then 16 we come back, win the league, and then we play Waterford in championship, and they beat us. Very disappointing. You're putting in the effort, and then new management come in 17, Donal and Jerry, and I suppose we get to Munster final, lose that. Definitely didn't deserve, or definitely deserved, I think, to lose that. Cork with a better team in the day. 18, then get to Munster final again against Cork and lose again. Very disappointing. Again, like just thinking back in those games, like you miss chances and whatever, but still Cork were better than us both days. Give them their credit, they took their chances, we didn't. So and then like 19 then was kind of the year that I kind of really, even though I went back in 2020, 19 was the year that kind of I finished up starting with the hurlers, like. And
how was the relationship with Davy in 14 then, post Wexford? How was it moving forward then?
Oh, very, very good.
Still good, like, is it like optimism within the group, obviously, like.
Yeah, there was always optimism.
With Davy there is, but from the group itself, did you feel time was starting to run out on this, or did you feel a change was needed, or were you still very much happy with what?
You're still a really young team.
Yeah, we're still a young team. I'd say
4 years into it.
Yeah, I'd say the hardest
thing. 2014 is just those boys have just won an under 21 the previous year, and so many of you in that group.
Yeah, I'd say like one thing that's very hard at management is keeping everyone happy. And you're always going to have people in your panel like that aren't happy, whether they're not playing, whether they're not making a match day 26, whether you're coming off as a sub or whatever it is, like, and it's very hard to keep everyone happy. And I'd say maybe that started to fester a bit with different players, and that kind of came through. But like we were still getting on the field. I still think we were getting a good team on the field, and weren't producing the performances. And I always think that comes down to the players. Like when you you're the players in the field, like, and you have to take responsibility for the results. Like, and I've never been in the business of like blaming a manager, blaming a setup, even if I think it should be better or it should improve in whatever instance it is. It's kind of on you. You know, and I don't.
But the intensity of the training that you described a few moments ago, was that starting to take its toll by 2014?
I don't know. Like if you look at the metrics, like, and you look at, let's say, even body fat composition, like, because I have all them still, you can still look back at them, and you look at like different running metrics and everything like that. We were still going pretty well. Like, it just weren't getting the results, but it's like you look back in 30 and you're like, right, we did this and we did this and we did this. So this is the right thing to do, and this, but we still lost the first round to Cork. Like, everything wasn't perfect. Do you know, then.
And there's a target on your back, though. You got to remember, from 13, you've just done the absolute ultimate, double 21s senior. There's a bigger mark in your heads going into 14 as well, I suppose. That's the other side as well. So you can say your matrix are all good, but the other teams know that too, and they have to be better than what they were.
Yeah, and it's very disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love if we kept winning. Yeah. That would have been great.
It's for sports easy if we do, like,
Yeah,
so.
but it didn't go that way, and like I only kind of think about myself, like that red card, like, was just a complete lack of discipline. I knew the rule, stupid, like, just petulance, and then the year after, crucially, was very disappointing. Obviously, try to come back from that as quick as I can, and
there was a lot of outside noise, and there always has been wherever Davy has gone. He's just polarizing figure, huge personality, brilliant for the game. And I think, despite the fact that everything he's won as a coach, I think he's still an underrated manager. People find it very easy to disparage him and to malign his achievements. But I was there that day in Cusack Park, really warm day. Cusack Park is just, as you remember from that qualifier you played
electric.
against Clare, when it's full, it's like
Different.
suffocating. And for a lot of people, it's probably the quintessential county ground outside of the big provincial venues. And there was a Clare champion rider who'd been very critical of you guys in the over the course of the league that year, and after your Munster championship defeat to Cork, and then it all kind of, you got sent off, you ended up drawing a game you probably should have won, and it all spills over afterwards. And there's this huge confrontation between this reporter and Davy in the tunnel, which is a very compact area. And I was trying to figure out some of the detail and what your involvement was that day. That's where I was reminded that you'd been shown a red card. And the article I discovered, I'm quoted at the bottom of it, talking about what I'd seen. It must have been taken from Off the Ball or something, who I was working with at the time, but there I am, like 10 or 11 lines describing what I'd seen. I certainly didn't speak to anyone in the local journalism setup in Clare at the time.
So you're going to tell it now?
Well, my recollection of it was, I assume you were in the dressing room with your head in your hands thinking, I've cost us this game here today. But I only saw the secondary part of it, where Davy was almost been manhandled by one of the backroom staff to get back into the change room before things really became physical, and there was kids in the area and everything. But the point I try to make is that I just felt that moment was a microcosm of some of the non-hurling related stuff that seemed to follow Davy around at times in the various jobs he was in over the years. Obviously a hugely competitive, confrontational man himself that didn't take a slight very well. And was that ever an issue with the teams you played on under Davy, that it wasn't just about getting the best out of yourselves? There was all the other stuff, the ancillary stuff that seemed to go with it, that for a lot of groups could easily become a real significant distraction.
Yeah, especially as a young player, I didn't get involved in it. It was never...
Were you aware of it though? You must have heard what was going on outside your dressing room at that moment.
I don't remember it. Definitely not, as in, I don't remember any...
It was right outside your door.
The only thing I remember from that day is me and Shane being in the dugout. I remember doing the act and getting sent off, thinking I've let the team down, be in the dugout. Half time went in, fairness said, lads, like, produced a draw with 14 men and went down to extra, then gave us a chance to go through. But I honestly do not remember anything going on outside the restaurant. And I tell you, if I did...
Does Davy come in irate, though? Does Davy...
I couldn't tell you, but yeah. Like, I can't remember a full game from 2018, like, so... I definitely don't remember that.
David's going to go back to the quotes now of the story. So
well, I think Davy and the journalist, they actually did do a piece together after, in the aftermath. Eventually it was put to bed, and which is great. They were able to kind of man up and let bygones be bygones. But there was always something going on. Davy, there was a lot of stuff with Davy's dad being part of the county board, and there was a lot of scurrilous sort of accusations doing the rounds. It can't have been easy for you guys, particularly the younger guys, having to deal with these sort of distractions.
You're fortunate enough. I definitely found as an older player, you get involved more in those conversations just by your stage you're at in your career. You're meeting different people that are kind of more involved maybe in your like with the county board and at different levels, and then as you're older, those kind of conversations start to happen. I don't know if you found that, Lee, but as younger,
you're more naive.
You're sheltered as well.
Yeah.
You're sheltered. No one has those conversations. I never felt like someone would come up to me and bring up Davy.
You don't care either.
Yeah, no.
You don't care, love. But when you're in the stage, like at that age, you don't care what's happening. You just want to play.
Yeah,
you know. When you're older, then you're caught up more in it, as in terms of you're more aware of what's happening. You're aware of the conversations, the people involved. When I first came in, Sinrich yourself, you're describing is that you just don't want to be caught up in it because you don't really care, because all you're caring is about the teammates and the people around you. But definitely when I got older, I became more aware of it. But I tried to not care as well, but it's hard not to sometimes. So
yeah, and it's important for the older lads in a group to manage that. Like, I do think like the responsibility does fall on the older players to, you know, shelter younger players away from that. That older players should be mature enough to deal with that as part of the panel when it has to be dealt with. Like, if there's sideshows or anything going on, that it's up to the older players to be like, right lads, get rid of this. We just need to perform.
Yeah.
And like I was just that age where I wasn't I wasn't having conversations with the management. I wasn't. I was just getting, unless it was to do with improving my performance. Yeah. That was it.
And just to and not to go on it, just so the incident itself, you're absolutely devastated, obviously, and we're on about Davy. Does he handle you well in terms of that moment? That even after the game, getting the draw, it's probably a bit of elation, a bit of relief for yourself. Then is he putting you in a good space? Then listen, we'll get on with it. will monitor it, you know, because you're obviously you're gutted, like, you know. So what's that feeling then like? Then I know, because you're saying you feel like you let the team down, but does Davy put the hand around the shoulder and say, listen, it's okay? Or
Yeah, and you're just another player, like,
Yeah.
it's just next man up down in Wexford, and it was forgotten about very quickly,
Right.
like, and just come back and
Yeah.
go again. It honestly wasn't a big deal. I don't remember, like,
Yeah.
like they no one held it against me from management or playing
Brilliant.
because they knew I'd train, like,
Yeah,
I'd train
yeah,
hard,
yeah.
and I'd put everything into it, so it wasn't a big issue. I made a mistake, and that was it. Move
Yeah.
on.
2016 is Davy's last year. Am I right saying that's the first real full year of you being a dual star, that you're playing hurling and football that year?
Probably, yeah.
At any point, because there's a lot of pressure coming on Davy at this point on the back of 2 really poor years in terms of championship results, and you've come back and you've won a league in 2016 then, so there's signs that maybe things are picking up again. At any point, is he sitting down with you and questioning whether you can make this work?
Yeah, like, I'd say, like, in hindsight, it was a bad decision by me, because Clare football kind of got to a level where it was competitive. Like, there was when I first started playing with Clare football, it was even 2011 or 2012. It was Division 4, and the hurling was at a higher level at that point. And then as Clare started to move up in football, the demands got higher. And I always kind of say this was kind of, I remember Dave Tuberty, who we were very good friends with, just at training one day being like, why did you go that side? You should have been coming this side with a run that we were kind of a set play, let's say. And I was like, sure, in my head I was like, I was training with the hurlers on Tuesday, I wasn't at the meeting. But then I was like, no, this is gone, like this. And I pushed it too far. I shouldn't have. I should have just probably stuck with 116, definitely. So that's a regret. Then we had a great day above in Roscommon, like, that we beat Roscommon above in Salt Hill, like, and sure, that was a great buzz and it's a great feeling and everything like that. But sure, if you, like I said, if you hindsight's 2020, if you had your time back, like, maybe. But I did it for the right reasons. Like, I wanted to represent my county in both. As a young lad, you kind of don't expect to play either.
So when you get into championship, I commentated on that game in Salt Hill. Absolute rocket of a game. It was just brilliant to watch, because it was just two teams going hell for leather, and whoever scores the most is going to win, as opposed to, there was no sweepers, there was no blanket defences.
Good times football,
Enda Smith had a brilliant day that day.
Still is.
Talk to me about what the week looked like for you at that point. So you've got both teams are going really well. The footballers are going deep into the championship, and that is not something you could say really going back to 1992 when they won the Munster title. So are you training Tuesday hurlers, Thursday footballers? Is that the way
Something
it
like that, or
worked?
if it was hurling on that weekend, I'd be with the hurlers, or football on that weekend, I'd be with the footballers.
So you can sit around the kitchen table at home and have this out with your dad. But with Davy, I don't imagine that it's that easy. He must be getting pretty annoyed. He needs you at your peak, and you feel, and you've given us an indication this is how you did feel at the time. In hindsight, you weren't at your absolute peak for either team.
I couldn't have been. There's
So
no
how's
way.
Davy taking all this?
It's like he told me at the start of the year, you can't do it. Do you know, or he told me like the year before. He's like, do you know, you need to pick one that's too high level, and it was. And I probably just grew up just playing both all the time. So I just thought, do you know, I'll do my best. I'll put in more work, and I'll do it. Like, I'll be fine. But and we played Galway the day after the Roscommon game, and I think I had 3 wides, and I was like, do you know.
So this is back-to-back championship matches in successive days.
24
Unheard of at this time.
Yeah,
of
but
year.
in fairness, like, they didn't, in the Roscommon game, they weren't planning on playing me, and I think I played like the last maybe 15 minutes, like, that was it. And then I just went down to the sea. I stayed in the Hinch that night, I booked into a hotel. I went down to the sea the next morning, it was dark, I was choppy, and I got fired against the rocks, and that gave me actually a hand
I'm
out.
sure Davey or Colin would be happy with that.
Oh, stop. I was just like, you idiot. I was like, grazes all up my arm there in the game against Galway.
Was there a sense, because I always find if you're told not to do something, was there also in yourself that I want to do it? You know, when someone tells you you can't do it,
It was never an ultimatum, though, was it?
No.
That Davy never gave you it's us or them type scenario.
Or he just said he just can't do it.
Yeah, he just didn't want me doing it. Like, and obviously in 15, I think he kind of gave me the ultimatum, and I was going to play football, and I did the cruise shit. It's.
But that's an even bigger surprise that he was happy enough to have you on his panel in 2016. He gave the ultimatum in 2015. You chose football over his hurling team.
Yeah.
Then the ACL goes. I was surprised that Davy was happy enough to have you back on the hurling panel in 2016, given that you were very obviously wanting to play both codes.
Yeah.
Were you surprised he took you back?
Yeah, I was getting murmurs kind of from the people that like even in 15 that if you stay healthy like and keep looking after yourself and like they don't close the door like you know, and they never would. There was never a kind of a bust up or anything like that. But yeah, I wasn't surprised. Like I really wanted to do it, and I was kind of like just in my head like try to just perform at the club now and just you know. And as a young like I'd still consider myself young at that stage. Obviously, I was just mad to play. That was it. Mad to play at all costs. And then like after 16 when that happened, like the Roscommon, the energy of being up in Salt Hill, being involved with the panel.
Yeah, you might have only played the last 15-20 minutes, but
So
you were
that's the
doing the
high
warm
winning.
up. You're
Yeah.
there all day. You're sitting through all the team talks, and like it's the intensity of the championship field.
Yeah, and I suppose I was kind of green in the sense that I was just like, I was kind of like against the GA in my head. I was like, why can't they organise a championship? That this could be possible.
Yeah.
That's what I genuinely thought. I was like, these are both Irish sports. You know, should they not be like trying to facilitate this for players that want to do it in the future?
They've done the opposite since.
I know, and in fairness, they're probably right in the sense that the level that the amateur player has gone to now is just
Peak.
It's crazy. So
It's a real shame, though, isn't it, that we don't have the Aidan Walshes, the Podge Collins, the Teddy McCarthy's, and the Dennis Walshes. Like, it'll never happen again.
no.
Or can you ever see it happening
But the
again?
season doesn't allow you to make it happen because it's too tight, too condensed. You know, and then you're going back from your county championship, inter-county. You're going, as you said, you're going straight into your club to be a jewel, and you're still playing jewel. Like so,
Yeah.
Like, remember Alan Kearns played in both All Irelands in 2001.
Yeah.
I don't think it's happened since. Obviously, Teddy, God rest him, he won 2 All Irelands in the same year.
pre-centered.
It would imagine what a story it would be if somebody could do something like that again, but it does feel impossible.
Yeah, I know it is. I think now the way that the inter-county game has gone in both codes, you cannot miss a session. You can't miss meetings. You have to know what's going on, how you're setting up, where you're supposed to be when you get the opportunity to play, how your panel are playing. Like, you know, you have to be at everything or try to be at everything. You can miss the odd one, but you couldn't be involved with the second panel.
So was there a point in 2016 that you regretted the decision? You're talking to us in hindsight now, so you're saying, well, clearly I couldn't have been at my peak for either team. Was there a point during that year, like after that comment from David Tuberty, for example? Was there a point where you thought,
probably it, yeah.
I've made a big mistake here?
No, that was a time where I was like, I'm doing no one any favours
Okay.
here. Like, I was like, I'm not helping either panel. I was
Or
like,
yourself.
or myself. But
Yeah.
But you're obviously going well enough to be picked by both managers.
yeah, and that was kind of, do you know what? That's probably what I was thinking at the time. I was probably like, they're the managers, they're the selectors. If I'm playing well enough and if they want to play me, they'll play me. That's like, they're being very honest about it. That's probably what I was thinking, and it was wrong, because I definitely I couldn't have been at my peak in both. No way.
It's wrong then, but for you, like it's good because you're young. You've been told by each manager that you're getting selected, so you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So at the time, it can't feel wrong, although you know you're on about means. I think I said it is brilliant, but at a time where you're thinking, yeah, geez, I'm getting playing this game on a Saturday, and I'm going to pick this game on Sunday. There has to be something that's been told to each manager that you're doing something really well to be in that position to be picked first and foremost. So
yeah, and you're trying really hard, and you want to play.
Yeah.
But like, and then we go out against Kerry in that quarter final, and they you're just going into the game, you're preparing as well as you can, and then they put a nice beating on us that day again, and after that year, then I was like, right, you're picking one or the other, and I went in with the hurling.
In 2017.
Yeah.
And that was under new management.
Yeah.
Davy talks about stepping away in 2016 and that there was a player meeting, that he took a meeting with the players.
Yeah.
And I don't know, was it a vote? Maybe you can enlighten us as to what the dynamics were there. But he described it as opinion being divided.
Yeah.
As to whether or not the players wanted a fresh face and a fresh voice. And for that reason, he decided, well, it's clearly not unanimous backing. I need to step away.
Yeah.
Was that a heave? Was Davy asked to leave?
No, I'd say it was. I'd say it's nearly exactly what he said. I'd say part of the panel wanted him, part of the panel didn't, and then maybe it was like between him and maybe the captain and the older guys in the panel, and they were kind of that it was like, right, maybe a fresh start is the best.
So how was it communicated to Davy that part of the panel wanted him and part of it didn't? Like, was it a show of hands in a room?
No, I'd say it was between the captain and Davy. That was kind of relayed, and you're kind of getting probably, I wasn't overly surprised because it just hadn't gone well for us the last 3 years. So it was like I don't know. Like, did Davy want to change as well? I don't know, but
He said he wasn't pushed.
yeah,
And he made the decision himself for the good of Clare Hurling, and I don't think anyone could question that Clare Hurling's always been at the forefront of Davy's mind.
yeah.
Even when he's not with the county, he's obviously still a major lover of Clare Hurling. But that, did it break down along age profiles? Like, would the younger cohort have wanted him to stay, and maybe some of the older guys who felt they only had a couple of years left at the elite level wanted it with a fresh face?
I don't know, was it broken by younger and older? As you get more involved with coaching and even just getting older and kind of seeing my father just managing, it's very hard to keep everyone happy. And the kind of older you get, the more you understand that. Like, if a manager that can keep 37 or 8 lads in a dressing room happy is an exceptional manager. And our dressing room definitely didn't have that at that time. So it is, like, I suppose it is what it is. Like,
Probably a natural progression. Like, you need freshness too. Like, I know, like, you see it. You keep saying Davy brought the freshness in with him, and everybody's going to, it's going to tear away as well. Like, so you need a bounce back in something. Like, and you probably you might have found it just went stale. Maybe looking back now, things, as I said, look at the results, they didn't go away a lot of the time. So sometimes just an evolution of sport, you just need a change to get that kick again. Because again, someone there that long with that passion, things do need a little bit of a change, and that's what you need to get to as well. Like, so maybe that was just time for yourselves and Davy to part ways. Maybe.
Yeah, and like it's a very professional setup, so you probably don't know what's coming either. So that's always a concern. It's not like it was an unprofessional setup that he had. Do you know, like, I do hear of, like, county teams and the standard drops it with a manager, and then the players want a change. It wasn't that it was that. It was just probably that things weren't going as well as they were in the field.
Are you hinting at 2015 in Mayo there?
No, just in general, like, just even.
We've already been through that.
Yeah, no, even in football, like soccer clubs, do you know, it happens that you see, like, a manager comes in and then, like, they're got rid of by the club, and then a new manager comes in, and you notice, you can tell by the players the standards are dropped. So that manager, then they want him gone nearly straight away. You see it in all sports. But yeah, no, and that wasn't the case, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at. And then Donal and Jerry kind of came in, who were obviously with us at 21s, and kind of natural progression for them. And Donal and Jerry, like, they were excellent as well now. And it's a pity, like, it was a real pity we didn't get silverware, like, when they were involved with us. I find it very hard to watch back games. I never watched one when I was playing back that I didn't have to analyse for a reason. Like, if we'd analyse our game, fair enough, but
just personal preference, or the performance, or just a bit of everything?
Yeah, I just hated, like, losing.
Yeah.
Do you know, I hated like losing those Munster finals. Do you know, even though Cork deserved to beat us in both of them, but just for the Clare public and just for yourself and for the team, you just wanted to win so much, and we didn't.
Was it 2018 with the 2 games against Galway?
Yeah, the replay and
they must be huge regrets. Those 2 matches were phenomenal games, but Clare could have won either or both of those.
Yeah, they were excellent games. No,
it's an era in which it's a real sense of underachievement, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, a league medal and an All-Ireland medal should be enough to say the vast majority of intercounty hurlers are footballers, because so many don't get even close to winning either of those things. But you did it in your second year with a really young team.
Yeah, like Conor Ryan, I don't know if you saw this quote, but Conor Ryan, like, obviously, like, got an illness around 2014 or 15, and he'd step away. He was obviously a massive loss, first of all. Club and county, he was colossal at 6. But he just said when he told my father, call him like that, he was he had to finish it up. He was like, well, you did your shopping early. Do you know, that's the way he put it. Like, he's like, you won your All-Ireland medals, you won your county medals, you won your underage with Clare medals, like, and I obviously at that point had hopes for doing a lot more of it, but we didn't, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a competitive environment. Like, so even watching, like, listening to the podcast with yourselves over the last number of weeks and seeing like the grilling that like Park Maher gets for not getting 2 in a row we were giving him, and I was just thinking
He was always going to get asked.
I was thinking in my own head, oh God, help me when I get up here.
because your story is fascinating in terms of like what you did in your second year. A lot of players don't achieve in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So you must have thought like your GA career is your oyster. Like this is going to be it. Do you know?
Yeah, but I often thought about during that period, and it was dark enough days, like thinking about it, just being unsuccessful after being successful, and the criticism you get for not backing up performance, like throughout the course of a year, like producing that same performance. And I often used to think about Mayo, because he always performed, he never really underperformed and consistently. And I was just like, we had performances where I was like, we did not play to our peak that day. It's like, why didn't we? Like trying to figure it out and trying to go through it, and like obviously winning the All Ireland was great, but there was years there like, and I see the Clare team at the moment now, they're just performing consistently with the probably exception of that Kilkenny game 2 years ago. That was the one that was kind of the only kind of one they didn't show up for, but yeah, that's like, I obviously think about that.
I see our drive was funny, like, because we didn't get the golden egg at the end of it, so that was always just the peak we were trying to reach. So for us to do that, we had to be consistent in performance. If we weren't, we were never going to be near it. It's funny you say I look back at the Clare team then, and you won it in your second year, which is wonderful. I always wondered did that maybe hold you back a little bit more from progressing further if you hadn't won it, to be more consistent, because I said if we won it in our first couple of years, I don't think we would have been as consistent as we probably were without actually ever winning it over the years that we played. So it's just, I always find the dynamic a funny one, that you come in, win it nearly straight away, where we played for 10, 12 years and got close, but consistency was always higher.
Yeah, people always kind of do make that kind of assumption, like that success will make you weak.
I don't think weak. I think comfortable. I always think sometimes it can make you comfortable.
Well, yeah, and I get it. Like, it's just hard when you see the effort that players are putting in, and even the management are putting in, and you're still not getting results. Like, and that's what I found very hard. People use that was kind of a stick to beat us with. It's like, oh, you won one, and then you kind of like took the foot off the gas a bit. Like, and it couldn't have been further from the truth from what I could see. Like the effort lads were putting in, but when you're not successful, then I suppose you just kind of have to accept it, whatever's thrown at you. And that was it. Because
I found with the footballers, I said to Dave just before he came in, I always felt the footballers always maximised, although their limitations was probably smaller compared to what the Clare hurlers had. I always found it just the max out of everything, and maybe that's just something that your father brought in from straight away. Because I was saying we always used to play in challenge games, but it never felt like a challenge game, because it was always a tough game, because you just knew what you were about. And I always found with the footballing side of things, you just max completely for 7, 8, 9, 10 years under that group, like, you know.
Yeah, but we're judged to they're judged to a different standard, which is disappointing. Like, but it's like it is what it is. In Clare, you do not get the best 15 footballers on the field. Like, Tony Kelly was an unbelievable minor footballer.
Okay.
Like, we played Cork, they got to the All-Ireland final, lost Tyrone, I think, and we played him in Ennis, and we were up a point going into injury time, and like, I think Tony kicked 3 points that day. And like, so you're losing that kind of high quality player, and I know there's Hurling and Mayo as well, but like, you probably usually get
we get the pick.
And like, I know Clare is divided, kind of, there's West Clare and East Clare is more Hurling, like, but that's the nature. You're not, like, in Kilkenny, you're going to get the best 15 hurlers probably on the field. In Kerry, you're like, I know Hurling's coming.
Just taken as a given.
It is, and in Clare there is that split, and I'm sure there's plenty of like you see with the club team Ballyea, the amount of intercounty footballers that are playing with them and how well they're doing, and if they get exposure to hurling at a younger age just because they're from West Clare, like, could they have ended up playing hurling instead of football? But we were lucky enough that they were playing football. But I just say, they are judged to a different standard, all right, and I think that, like, it's so frustrating. Like obviously the Donegal game this year with Clare football was very frustrating. But you lose 11 players and new management and everything like that. And they gave a great like, they got the Munster final. Like, could have gone up in the league, like, and everything like that. But
especially considering what had gone before that, you know, the group that they had, you felt that was going to be like a big turning point for Clare football, that they could fall off the cliff, and some of the star players they lost. They were brilliant players, Tuberty, Brennan, these kind of guys, you know, Malone, and then it just turned around. And but that's what I love. I just think that the max everything out. And when Fitzgerald came in, he got the same reproduction of quality from them, I think. And I think they overachieved in some regards this year, considering what they lost to where they've got to now. So
Yeah, it's just, you see some of these lads playing Sigerson football, and you see them with their club, and you know how good they are. Like, so it's good that they've been able to kind of show it, and like it'll hopefully a bit more consistency then will come. And like, it's in other years as well. Like, we've got knocked out. So your that performance against Derry up in Croke Park, like they were to beat us well. Like, and your apps, like, regardless of, like, they might have been the 5th best or 6th best team in the country at the time, like, and we wouldn't be considered in that bracket. And I'm still going to be gutted, but like, someone might come up to me, oh, you had a good year.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to see that in the moment, though.
I'd just be seething. Like, I'd just be like gritting my teeth, just yeah.
Here, Podge, I want to finish with Podge, the coach, and maybe bring two things that you've kind of fleetingly mentioned. You talked about coaching this year, and you were part of the coaching team that led Mary I to the Fitzgibbon Cup this year, and you are with Jamie Wall, who is your first cousin, because you mentioned your mother's from Cork. Now, for those who don't know Jamie Wall's story, like yourself, brilliant up-and-coming star and boat coach for Cork, hurled and played football with the county minors and under 21s, and surely would have had a big career in the senior ranks. And then I think it was an cyst on his spine in 2014 led to tragic diagnosis of paralysis, and he's been in a wheelchair since. But he's, in the last 4 years in particular, has proven himself to be one of the most astute and brightest up-and-coming coaches in the country, hurling coaches in the country. Talk to us about your relationship with Jamie, what that spell was like, where he's been told his career is essentially over. You're only in year 3 of a brilliant inter-county career with Clare, and fast forward a decade, here you are on the sideline with them, winning a Fitzgibbon. I mean, it's an astonishing story that could probably take an hour in itself.
Yeah. Like, I'd say, like, we grew up as like Jamie's mother and my mother would be very good friends, so we would grown up going on holidays together and spend time in the back garden playing the All-Ireland final every kind of couple of weeks against each other and stuff like that. And then Jamie was an excellent footballer, kind of in his late teens. He got massive strong, like, he was lifting heavy weights, and they had an excellent kind of program. And he came into college then and playing hurling with Cork and intermediates, and playing with Mary I and playing really well. Like, he gave one of the Clare lads at the time, I think he scored like 11 points. Now he's hitting frees the same day, and we beat him by 12 points, so it's a tough game. So yeah, he was an excellent sports person. And then it was actually the week before that Wexford game I got sent off, and like, that happened, and obviously, like, very tough on the family, and it's not something you expect. Like, you know, I don't know, would you be more accepting of something in an accident, but something like that, it was just very hard to understand and grasp as a young adult. And you're just trying to help as best you can at that time. And then what's happened since, like, from his point of view, has just been phenomenal. That, like, what he's done, and come back, like, training to be a solicitor, from being a qualified primary school teacher, and his involvement in coaching and just around the GA, like, he's just a great person to talk to, and whether it's hurling or football. So we've some in-depth conversations, like, so yeah, he's living in Cork now, and I'm obviously living in Cratloe and Clare, and Cratloe is like 15 minutes from Mary I maybe, so he'd be up to the night before trainings or the night before matches, and hours in the kitchen table just analysing and setups and going through everything. And in fairness now, because Jamie would have strong opinions, so in fairness, they always kind of end well, and we always kind of get to some sort of agreement. But he's been excellent for me going into that side of a thing, coaching, like, because he's been involved with different clubs, like, and he's got such a good understanding of the game, and he's just a great person to talk to about it. So I've loved it, and he's
obviously had huge success this year with him as well, which is, you know, added, I'm sure, positive as well.
Yeah, and like, we were very lucky with the group of players we had this year. Like, we had an excellent crop of players, like players that maybe weren't household names outside of, like, you know, there's very few, I suppose, GA people that would know how good some of these players were. But we were very lucky with an excellent group of players. But last year, when I was involved, still playing inter-county football, and like, you're coming and going, you're popping dead and popping out, you don't know some lads' names. I actually hated it last year. And then this year, before we won anything, like, I was just saying to anyone, like, people close to me, I'm loving this, I'm absolutely loving it. Now, but like even when you were talking about, like, Davy stepping away from Waterford, and the commute, like you're thinking about it, the commute of you to be an inter-county manager now, or coach, or to be involved with even a club team, you have to be watching players, like, whether they're with their schools, whether they're with their club, You have to see all those games. You have to see the junior, intermediate, senior games in a county. You have every player. You have to fish out every bit of talent, and you have to be there every night in training. You have to be there first, be there last. Like it's a massive commitment. And like in fairness with Mary I, it runs outside of the club season, which obviously I love because it's like October, November to max February.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, it's February, and so that's like I've timed my evenings during that period now that I'm finished with intercounty. So I love that you're there the whole time, so you're seeing the players the whole time, and I think that definitely enhances the buy-in from players. Like I think as even if you're a club player in a county with a new manager or whatever it might be, you want to see them at all the club games.
Yeah.
They have to be at everything, and then you respect them more. So I not that I didn't feel like the players respected me last year at all, but I wouldn't as a player respect the person that's kind of popping their head in and out. I've seen it with like psychologists and dietitians and different things with intercounty setups. It's like if you're not there the whole time, the players will not have the same buy-in. It's like if you're coming in, you buy in with the group, like you give the same as the lad that's 36 that knows he won't get a jersey on All-Ireland final day or whatever it is. You give the same commitment as them, and players will get more buy-in. So that's why I definitely loved it this year, and that side of it.
So Podge with Davy, near future.
I don't think
dream
so.
team with Clare.
I don't think that'll ever be happening.
Meet halfway and we'll...
Did Jamie's circumstances give you an almost permanent sense of perspective? That like whenever something went wrong for you, be it the torn ACL, be it Clare's poor form, something going on personally in your life, that you just think of Jamie and the way he's dealt with his situation. Like, is he a permanent source of inspiration?
Yeah, I suppose naively enough, I had an awful day with Clare, and I went out with him the weekend after or something. We went to a concert, and we had an absolute ball. We had such a good time for like 2 days, and I like thanked him after. And
When was this?
Around 2018, 2019. In my head it was like 2019, but something tells me it was 2018. I'm not 100% sure, but it was around that period. And I remember thanking him for it after, like, and just thinking in my own head, like, you're thanking him because you were low over jail, like, you know, and like, but that's because he's just taken it in his stride. That's how comfortable I was to say it to him, like, and have that conversation with him, like, and he's just an unbelievable fella. Yeah, like it does. It gives you massive perspective, and like it makes you want to kind of push yourself nearly more in whatever you're doing as well. Like he does. Like, and
so maybe it'll be a Collins Wall dream team and an intercounty setup. Do you think you could ever give the time, having seen various managers come and go, having seen it in your own family for a decade, what your dad had to put into the Clare senior football setup? You never switch off. You're either on the phone, or you're at a session, or you're at a game. You're speaking to players one-on-one. Heard Andy Moran talk about the man-on-man aspect of being the Leitrim manager was the thing that took up most of his time, to the point where he can't really give any time to the actual coaching of the team. Do you think you could cope with that?
I don't know. I don't know. Right now, playing with the club, no way. No way.
But in years to come, when you're no longer playing.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like with Andy's probably, I'd say Andy's an excellent teammate, is he?
Yeah.
An excellent teammate from playing, right? So I'd say Andy probably went into that job as manager wanting to look after all the players.
Yeah, he'd be a father figure type that I put there. He'd really want to be emotionally involved in everything that you're doing, inside and outside the camp, to make sure he's getting the best idea.
Yeah, and I feel like that as a manager of an intercounty team, you can't. Nearly. I think you have to pick and choose your battles. You will not have enough time to be a good, like, to nearly look after everyone. So I do, like, I think you have to choose your time wisely. And it's very hard to do that, I think, anyway.
Maybe the county like Leitrim, though, you've no choice, because your resources are so scant that you have to do whatever it takes to get every...
His problem is 20s and senior, so time is maximised.
I don't know,
you know, like, so regardless of size, I think that's just, it's probably too much. Like, there's no balance there, really, like, you know, and that's probably where he's coming from, like, you know. Yeah,
and I think it's sharing the load is very important when you get into that setup. Like, and we were lucky, like with Mary I, we'd Mark Jennery, who was with Nina CBS, who won the Harty this year, and we'd Aidan Scott, and we just had a nice relationship, the four of us, like, that we kind of were able to deal with the panel very well. But I think that the most important thing about getting in as a manager or a coach with the setup is like knowing what the resources the setup have and who's going to be in and what those people are like and what they can offer, and getting the most out of them, the players, and then trying to get the best team in the field.
Well, it's clear from hearing you talk that it's something that you're definitely driven towards in later life, because you seem very you know, the way you're talking about it, even from Mary I to moving forward in life. It's something that you seem really keen on. So
Yeah, well, it's still number 3, like probably like no, it's playing. Like
We
playing.
won't
No,
retire
we're done.
yet.
No.
We're
Yeah.
not going to retire.
He's
yet
retired
on this
every
podcast.
No, playing's number 1, but you just can't be playing.
nah, not the buzz of it.
So yeah, that's I'll do that until the legs fall off.
Good stuff. Podge, it's been brilliant. Thanks so much. Best of luck with the county championships and both codes over the next few weeks. And look, you're still a young man. There's plenty more county titles in you. Yeah, it's been great chatting to you.
No,
Thank
Really
you very
appreciate
much,
it.
Dave. Cheers, thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Lee.
So there you had it, the Podge Collins episode of the Square Ball podcast. He when he even just talk about the coaching and his short experience of it between October and February. If your Fitzgibbon Cup side get all the way to the final, there's just so much involved, and obviously he has seen it with his dad. Which can you ever see yourself doing it? Because there must be an expectation within Westport, surely, that the great Lee Keegan at some point is going to manage the seniors.
Categorically say no. I would never. I've probably sitting here over a few episodes, listened to some already, and the mammoth amount of work that goes into it. I would love to manage under 6s, under 8s, my daughters, but that's about it. I just can't see It's funny when you come out of an intercounty scene and knowing what goes into it as a player. I can just imagine what goes in as a coach or a manager, and for me, I just find that very unhealthy for myself. I like space. I need time to process stuff, and it just feels like having conversation. Podge and
We talk about Porrick Maher. He felt there was an
Podge.
expectation to take the third Sarsfield's job.
Yeah, and I
As soon
just-
as now it's easier for him. He hasn't got kids.
yes,
You've obviously got 2, and there's another one about to land.
yeah, there is.
I mean,
but
how could you possibly manage a
no,
team?
and that's why I retired from sport, because I like to have that time with family, but also time for myself. And if you commit to that, then knowing that you can't fully commit to it, then I'm no good to nobody. I'm no good to the players. So for me, it's a resounding no for now. And yeah, I can
For now.
until
you-
until under 8s or under 6s coming out.
So do you see your coaching brief as being underage teams? You can't,
yeah.
even in 10 years' time, for example, you can't see yourself managing
I hope
the
to be-
Westport seniors, being a selector on with the Mayo setup.
It's hard to say. Like I'm happy doing the podcast with you for now. Dave. So we'll continue this for now.
Okay, that's the quintessential batting away of that question. When you start trying to plumoss me, we know we're heading towards bullshit territory. Look, there you have it. The latest episode of the Square Ball podcast, powered by William Hill, is in the bank. We have an awful lot more to come over the next few weeks, and there's plenty in the rearview mirror as well. So another reminder to go back into the conveyor belt that we've been putting together over the last few weeks. Listen to whatever we already have there. Drop us your comments on social media. You can make a comment on YouTube as well if you want to watch it in 3D, as it were. But do keep listening. Stay in touch with us, and we will be back with another episode of the Square Ball Pod very soon.